we almost had another seismic upset with number 8 Notre Dame sneaking by Toledo in the final minute of that one. Gutsy stuff in the 2-minute drill from Jack Cohen. Pops the finger back in. But again, Barrett, this offensive line looked porous up front. The quarterback's getting dinged all day. Doesn't necessarily look like a college football playoff ready team under Brian Kelly right now either.
No, it doesn't. And poor Jack Cohn, he got rattled quite a bit. I mean, he got his head wrung. He had to have his finger popped in right before the final touchdown pass. But to his credit, he's hung in there. I had no idea that Jack Cohn could be a difference maker, and yet here we are 2 weeks into the season. He's over 600 yards passing and is the offense for Notre Dame. So, yeah, I mean, the offensive line is not in good shape right now. With that said, one thing we know about Notre Dame consistently through Brian Kelly's tenure there is that they'll find ways to make it work. And they found a way 2 straight games against some pretty good competition, because I know people see Toledo, Mac, oh, they're not very good. Toledo can play. And then Florida State, I think BMAC's alma mater, was pretty darn solid last week and has a pretty bright future ahead of it this season. So they found ways to win in close games, and I think that certainly can help a team, especially a young team that is relatively inexperienced on the offensive side of the ball, that got into shootouts, that had to score points, that was put in tough situations. So, yeah, it did not look good for Brian Kelly's crew today. They found a way to get it done. The offensive line needs some work, but they're a work in progress. You take the lessons, the good and the bad, from the first 2 weeks, and there are both, and move forward, and Notre Dame did just that.
The concern that I have for Notre Dame, it goes back to when I was a child. I had a little puppy. And my little dog used to get out of the house and always run across the street all the time, run across the street. My uncle said, hey, you better get that dog. I'm like, why? He's just having fun. He said, he keeps running across that street, eventually gonna get hit. So you need to get him. I didn't pay attention to my good uncle. Guess what? The dog got hit by a car. He lived. He was okay. He limped for about 2 or 3 weeks.
We're thankful for that.
No question. He made it. But if you keep running across that street, Notre Dame, you're going to get hit eventually. For the 2nd straight week in a row, a very, very lackluster performance on both sides. Mistakes, not properly sound defensively, not playing physical at the point of attack on the offensive line. And they got through. They should have lost last week. They should have lost this week. I applaud them for being able to win ugly games. But at some point in time, those games will catch up to you, especially if you're talking about trying to get into the playoffs, trying to be one of those top 4 teams that have a legit shot to get into the playoffs. The issue that I have for Notre Dame, offensively, right, for the 2nd straight week in a row, we've seen them got outrushed on the ground. That's not Notre Dame football. I understand they have some new faces on the offensive line, but both sides of the ball for Notre Dame over the last few years, they've been so sound at the point of attack in the trenches. They got outrushed last week by Florida State. Toledo, once again, outrushed them again. So you have Kabak had 122 yards on 21 carries. That's not Notre Dame-like football, but they won the ball game. All I'm saying is clean up some of these mistakes, because eventually they will catch up to you if you don't clean them up.
Got to be careful how many times you cross the street. But if I'm crossing the street with anybody, it's with BMAC and Barrett. Gentlemen, thank you as always. And don't forget, there's plenty more BMAC to be had. Download and subscribe right now, the All Things Covered podcast. BMAC and his cousin Patrick Peterson sitting down with some of the biggest names in all of sports. No better time to join the conversation than right now. Download, subscribe, and enjoy All Things Covered.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.